Hi everyone, Melanie here, and I hope you're all doing well today. I was recently asked to make a video about ways to stop ourselves when we feel the need to keep over-explaining ourselves and constantly explaining why we left a toxic relationship. In particular, this goes out to when we're dating someone with BPD. It's not uncommon, the urge to want to keep justifying our reasons for wanting to leave by explaining further and further. Maybe this time, maybe with this explanation, they will finally get it. But no, sadly, they will never get it. So we have to address for ourselves, why we feel the need to want to keep over-explaining. Now, I'm saying over-explaining, not just explaining in the first place, because it's natural human behavior. And this happens when we're feeling guilty. When we feel guilty, we feel the need to explain our behavior because in doing so, we can then make changes to rectify the situation. We can make reparations. And as such, we can stay in the tribe, we can stay safe. It's a way to keep us in relation with another. The problem is when we keep over-explaining. We're always explaining why we're doing things, why things happened. It's a way to manage the feelings of guilt that we have. And if you really think about what are you saying in between the lines when you are over-explaining yourself? Could it possibly be that when you're giving your explanations, you're saying, I'm not as bad as you think. I'm not as bad as you think, because part of the guilt is that we feel like we've done something bad to hurt someone. And then with feelings of shame, it's feeling that I am a bad person. And as such, to negate these feelings, these very uncomfortable feelings of shame and guilt, it's very natural we want to explain ourselves. Now, there's a few reasons why some of us may be over-explaining a lot, explaining ourselves just a bit too much when it wasn't necessary. One of the reasons just comes out of a desire for other people to like us. When we have maybe low levels of self-esteem, when we have a lot of self-doubt, it's very likely then we're always going to be explaining our decisions, explaining our actions, because deep down, maybe we want other people to affirm that it was the right decision. Because when they can affirm that actually, yeah, it's okay, then we can start to breathe and believe, okay, so I made the right decision. It's like we're seeking validation for our decision making by explaining it all the time to others. So it's often people who do have lower levels of self-esteem, they doubt themselves. Maybe they have a childhood and a history of being told that what they were thinking and what they were feeling was wrong. The problem is when we're doing this with people who are dysfunctional, people who have a personality disorder, because this will be falling on deaf ears. You can keep explaining yourself. You can keep explaining yourself, hoping that maybe this one perfect explanation of why I said this or why I did this, or this is actually the reason that it led to this, then maybe he or she will finally be able to see that I'm not a bad person. They can actually see the reasons for why I did the things I do. I'm not the monster that they think I am. I am not fully to blame here. And that's the thing. Part of the relationship of dating someone who has BPD is that eventually you will be the enemy to them. You will be the person who holds their shadow. You are holding their shadow. You are not going to be seen in the best of lights. To have this said to you when someone with BPD is pointing the finger and saying you are this, you are that, and it's cruel. If you don't know about BPD, you don't realize that they're projecting their own shadow onto you, then it's natural that this will be plaguing our minds thinking, am I really this bad person? And then want to explain our behaviors. Oh, okay, well, actually, I did this because of this, and I did this because of this, and I said this. It will fall on deaf ears, because what characterizes borderline personality disorder is a distorted sense of reality, a distorted perception of reality. You can offer up any version of events, and unless it's in line with what they're thinking and with what they're feeling, they will reject it because they are guarding against feelings of shame. For them to actually fully take on board what you are saying when you're offering up an explanation, to authentically, fully listen to you, it's going to bring up feelings of shame, very severe feelings of shame that threaten the structure of their ego itself. It threatens ego death to them. They're very guarded against this. And as such, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter. You will forever be the bad person until it's convenient for them for you to become the good person again. You will never be able to give that perfect explanation to redeem yourself, to justify your actions. It will not be received in the way that you want it to be received. They are forever guarded from feeling ashamed. You will forever be the bad person until the next person comes along, and as such, they become the shadow holders. The best way to alleviate guilt that is more effective than explaining this all to your ex is by practicing self-forgiveness. In the first steps of forgiving ourselves is to accept that you did the best that you could. You did the best that you could back then. You were living very much in a dangerous situation. The automatic nervous system was always being activated. We were being triggered into fight or flight mechanism. We were living in survival mode. So remember this. When you start to feel guilty of things that you said that you regret, of the way you acted, which was out of character when you were dating someone with BPD, remember that you did the best that you could and that you were in survival mode. We don't make the best decisions sometimes, the wisest decisions when we're in survival mode. Our capacity for thinking and feeling is more restricted. We make decisions that are more instinctive and they are based on our survival. And as such, we may be submitting and fawning a lot more often because it's an impulse to keep ourselves safe. Another thing we do to keep ourselves safe is by not fully expressing all our emotions. We're keeping them tightly under lids. We're suppressing our feelings. Now that we come out of the relationship, and now as such we can properly reflect on what happened, many of us start to feel ashamed and guilty for things that we may have said. So if you're feeling ashamed or feeling guilty for acting out of character, for lashing out when dating someone with BPD, feeling remorseful about it, thinking maybe I am as bad as they said, maybe this all was all on me, remember that you were pushed too far. Even the kindest person will lash out when they are pushed too far. Anger is a response, it's a territorial response. When our boundaries are constantly being encroached, when we're constantly being attacked, eventually we lash out. Living in survival mode means that we don't make the best decisions compared to when we're making decisions in a relaxed and calmer place. So forgive yourself for not making the best decisions. Now that you are out of this relationship now is the time to really address what's beneath all this guilt. Do you think you're a bad person? Is this a reenactment in the past, and as such these are old wounds that are starting to be opened again? Because this is what happens when we date someone with a personality disorder. Anything that hasn't been addressed from the past, it will be shown to you in this relationship. Dating someone in particular with BPD is the biggest eye-opener into what we tolerate in our personal relationships. If you think you're codependent, you're a people pleaser, it will sometimes take dating someone with BPD to realize, wow, I do not stand up for myself in relationships. I allow way too much to happen. One final thing I want to say when working with guilt is that how it's meant to work is it makes us stop, pause, reflect on our actions, think about what we did that caused suffering, and think, how can I do things differently next time so that I reduce the risk of suffering for the other and for myself. This is how wisdom is gained, the ability to honestly reflect and take note of what we do need to change, what we need to do differently next time, to be more assertive, to be more firm in establishing healthy boundaries with a partner, to catch yourself when out of fear you don't want to truly say what you're actually thinking, to not ignore red flags anymore, and to actually stand up for yourself this time, to voice your no, to say, no, I will not tolerate this behavior anymore, to walk away if you don't feel safe. These are all things that we can do differently next time that make us into a more assertive, resilient, and more confident person. I hope this has all been helpful. Let me know your thoughts below. And as always, if this has struck a chord and you're finding it difficult coming out of a BPD relationship, and maybe you're struggling coming out of a BPD relationship and the guilt is just getting too much, send me an email. Maybe I can help. MelaniePRSVP@gmail.com. Going to leave it here for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below and have a lovely day. Talk soon. Bye-bye.